The moment Daniel saw the two small backpacks on the restaurant chair beside her, his stomach tightened like a knot pulled too fast. He wasn't afraid of kids. He loved kids. He was a single dad himself. But fear doesn't always come from what you don't want. Sometimes it comes from what you want so badly, you're terrified you'll ruin it. Daniel stood outside the little family cafe, palms damp, heart pounding like he was about to step into a courtroom instead of a date. Through the window, he spotted her, Emma, sitting at a corner table. She wore a soft blue sweater, her hair pulled back loosely, and she kept checking her phone as if she was trying to convince herself not to bolt. Beside her were two juice boxes and those backpacks, one pink, one green, neatly placed like tiny reminders. Daniel swallowed. He had rehearsed 100 different versions of this moment. He'd told himself he was ready. He'd told himself he was over the heartbreak, the loneliness, the guilt. But his chest still felt like a locked door that didn't trust anyone with the key. He took a deep breath and walked in. Emma looked up, and her face brightened with relief, like she'd been holding her breath too. Daniel, she asked. He smiled, forcing calm into his voice. Emma. They stood awkwardly for half a second, then hugged, brief, careful, polite. The kind of hug people give when they're not sure if warmth will be welcomed. Thank you for meeting me, Emma said, sliding her phone into her bag. Of course, Daniel replied. I'm glad we did this. They sat down. Daniel's eyes flicked again to the backpacks, then to the small, crayon-colored drawing on the table, two stick figures holding hands under a sun. Emma followed his gaze. Her smile faded slightly, replaced by a look that held both pride and worry. My kids drew that, she said quietly. They insisted I bring it for luck. Daniel chuckled softly. That's actually really sweet. Emma nodded, then hesitated, as if the next words were heavy. I should tell you something up front. Daniel's throat tightened. Okay. She exhaled slowly. I have two kids. Lily is 7, and Noah is 5. Daniel nodded. I know. Emma blinked. You do. You mentioned it on your profile, he said gently. And I didn't swipe away. Her shoulders dropped as if she'd been carrying a suitcase for miles. Right, she murmured, then laughed nervously. Sorry, I've just had experiences. Daniel's smile softened. Bad ones. Emma didn't answer right away. She traced the edge of her cup with one finger, eyes lowered. I've had men act interested until they hear the word, kids. Then suddenly they remember they're not ready. Or they say they're fine with it, but their faces look like they're calculating a loss. Daniel's heart squeezed. He knew that face. He'd seen it too. Not from dates, but from friends, relatives, even strangers, when they realized he was a father raising a child alone. As if single parents were damaged goods. As if love had conditions, like a contract. Emma finally looked up at him, her eyes shining with something stronger than fear. If you want to leave because I have two kids, she said slowly, voice firm, then, please leave now. I won't beg anyone to stay. The cafe seemed to quiet around them. Even the clinking plates in the background felt distant. Daniel stared at her, and in that moment, he didn't just see a woman on a date. He saw a warrior. A tired warrior. A woman who had been disappointed enough times to stop hoping, but still brave enough to show up. Daniel swallowed hard. Emma, he said, voice low, I'm not nervous because you have two kids. Her eyebrows lifted. I'm nervous, he admitted, because I like you. And because I'm scared I'll mess this up. Emma's mouth parted slightly. Surprised. Daniel leaned back in his chair and let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding for years. And, he added quietly, I'm a single dad too. The words landed between them like a truth that suddenly made the air lighter. Emma's eyes widened. You are. Daniel nodded. My son, Jacob. He's 8. For a second, Emma didn't speak. Then her expression shifted, like ice melting into something warm. Oh, she whispered, almost laughing. Oh my goodness, Daniel. Her hand lifted slightly, then hesitated. Can I? Daniel nodded. Yeah. Emma reached across the table and gently placed her hand over his. Her palm was warm, steady. You should have told me sooner, she said, smiling through the tension. I wanted to, Daniel replied. But I didn't want it to sound like, I don't know, like I was trying to prove something. Emma squeezed his hand once. You don't have to prove anything. Not to me. For the first time that night, Daniel felt his shoulders relax. They ordered food. Nothing fancy, grilled sandwiches, fries for the kids later, coffee for the adults who were tired in the way only parents understood. At first, the conversation stayed safe. Work, favorite movies, childhood stories. But soon the real parts began to slip out. Emma told him about her divorce, how her ex had left not because he stopped loving her, but because he stopped wanting responsibility. How he would show up for birthdays with big smiles and leave when it was time for homework and tears in real life. He calls himself a fun dad, Emma said, bitterness creeping into her voice. But he doesn't know Noah's favorite bedtime story. He doesn't know Lily hates peas. He doesn't know the sound of their crying at 2 a.m. Daniel nodded slowly. Some people want the title, not the job. Emma's eyes flickered. And you, what happened? Daniel looked down at his cup. The surface of the coffee trembled slightly, like it knew this was hard. My wife passed away, he said. Emma froze. Daniel's voice stayed calm, but his eyes grew distant. Cancer. It happened fast. 1 year we were planning a family vacation. The next year I was learning how to braid hair for school picture day because Jacob cried when I did it wrong. Emma covered her mouth. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Daniel forced a small smile. It's okay. I mean, it's not okay. But I'm functioning. Emma's eyes were wet. That's not just functioning. That's surviving. Daniel nodded once, swallowing emotion. And it's lonely sometimes. Not because I need someone to clean my house or cook for me. I can do that. Emma gave a small smile. I know. It's lonely, Daniel continued, because sometimes I want to tell someone, Jacob said something funny today, and there's no one who cares the way she would have cared. Emma's tears fell silently. She wiped them quickly, embarrassed. Hey, Daniel said softly. It's okay. Emma shook her head. No, it's just, people always act like single parents are strong and fine. But they never talk about the quiet moments. The ones that hurt the most. Daniel's eyes met hers. You understand, he said. Emma nodded. I do. For a few minutes, they just sat there, holding the space between them like something fragile and sacred. Then Emma chuckled through her tears. This is the most emotional grilled sandwich I've ever had. Daniel laughed, real laughter. The kind that surprises you because you forgot you still could. That night ended gently. No dramatic kiss in the rain. No movie-style fireworks. Just two people walking to their cars under streetlights, sharing the kind of silence that feels safe. Before they parted, Emma said, My kids are with my sister tonight. Daniel nodded. Jacob's with my mom. Emma hesitated. Would you want to do this again? Daniel smiled. Yeah, I would. Emma smiled back, then grew serious. But Daniel, yeah, next time, she said softly, you have to promise me something. Daniel blinked. What? If it gets hard, Emma said, if you feel scared or overwhelmed, don't disappear. Don't ghost me. Don't run. Just talk. Daniel's chest tightened. He nodded. I promise. Because he meant it. 2 weeks later, they planned their second date, but this time it wasn't a date. It was a park. Kids included. Daniel arrived with Jacob holding his hand. Jacob was a bright-eyed boy with messy hair and a superhero backpack. He clutched a small toy dinosaur like it was an emotional support animal. Emma was already there with Lily and Noah. Lily wore a pink headband and looked Daniel up and down with the seriousness of a tiny judge. Noah hid behind Emma's leg, peeking out like a cautious kitten. Daniel crouched down to their level. Hi, I'm Daniel. Lily crossed her arms. Are you nice? Daniel smiled. I try to be. Noah whispered, do you have snacks? Daniel laughed. I do. That broke the tension. Emma exhaled in relief. Jacob stepped forward, holding out his dinosaur to Noah. Wanna see? Noah nodded slowly. And just like that, children did what adults struggle to do. They connected without fear. Emma watched them with a softness in her eyes that made Daniel's heart ache. They spent the afternoon together, playing, laughing, pushing swings, sharing juice boxes. Daniel caught Emma smiling at him when she thought he wasn't looking. And he realized something terrifying. He could picture this. Not as a fantasy, as a life. But life doesn't let happiness come without testing it. A month later, the test came. Daniel was picking Jacob up from school when his phone rang. Emma's name flashed on the screen. He answered immediately. Hey. Her voice was shaky. Daniel, I need help. His stomach dropped. What happened? It's Noah, she said. He collapsed. He's breathing but he's not responding. I'm at the urgent care and they're sending us to the hospital. I'm scared. Daniel didn't hesitate. I'm coming, he said. But Jacob, I'll call my mom, Daniel cut in. Just tell me which hospital. When Daniel arrived, Emma was sitting in a plastic chair in the emergency room, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold her body together. Lily sat beside her, silent and pale, clutching Emma's sleeve. Emma looked up when she saw Daniel, and her face crumpled. Daniel rushed to her, crouched in front of her. I'm here. Emma grabbed his hands like she was drowning. I can't lose him, she whispered. I can't. Daniel pulled her into his arms. He didn't say, it'll be fine, because sometimes that feels like a lie. He just said, you won't be alone. Hours passed. Doctors came and went. Tests. Questions. Waiting. Daniel stayed. He bought Lily a small stuffed bunny from the gift shop. He helped Emma fill out forms when her hands shook too much. He stood when she couldn't. At one point, Emma whispered, you didn't have to come. Daniel looked at her like she didn't understand the world. Yes, I did, he said. Finally, a doctor approached. Noah had a severe allergic reaction. Something in food, something small, something invisible, but they caught it in time. He would be okay. Emma collapsed into tears, relief, exhaustion, gratitude. Daniel held her again, and Lily hugged his leg without thinking. That hug hit Daniel harder than anything. Because it wasn't polite. It wasn't cautious. It was trust. Later that night, when Noah was sleeping, Emma and Daniel sat in the hospital hallway. Emma stared at her hands. This is why I said what I said on our first date. Daniel tilted his head. What do you mean? Emma swallowed. I can't afford to love someone who might leave. My kids can't afford it. Daniel's heart squeezed. He nodded slowly. You're right. Emma looked at him, eyes wide with fear. So, are you leaving? The question was quiet, but it carried the weight of every man who had walked out on her before. Daniel leaned closer. No, he said firmly. I'm not leaving. Emma's lips trembled. Daniel continued, voice steady. But I need you to know something too. Emma listened. I'm scared, Daniel admitted. Not of your kids. Not of responsibility. I've lived responsibility. I've buried someone I loved. I've raised a child through grief. Emma's eyes softened. I'm scared, he said, because if I let myself love you, and love them, then losing it would destroy me. Emma stared at him, tears sliding again. Daniel reached for her hand. But I'd rather risk pain than live numb. Emma whispered, Daniel. He squeezed her hand gently. I want to be part of your life. If you'll let me. Emma broke down quietly, shoulders shaking. Yes, she whispered. Yes, please. The real challenges didn't end there. There were hard days. Days when Jacob got jealous because Daniel spent time with Lily and Noah. Days when Lily tested Daniel, refusing to listen, snapping, you're not my dad. Days when Noah woke up screaming from nightmares and only Emma could calm him. Days when Emma and Daniel argued over parenting styles, because blending families is not a fairy tale. It's work. And sometimes it's painful work. One night, after Lily screamed at Daniel and slammed her bedroom door, Emma sank onto the couch, face in her hands. I'm failing, she whispered. Daniel sat beside her. You're not. Emma shook her head. She misses her dad, even though he's not really there. And she doesn't know what to do with that pain, so she throws it at you. Daniel nodded slowly. Then I'll catch it. Emma looked at him. What if it breaks you? Daniel's eyes were calm. I've been broken before, but I've also healed. The next morning, Daniel knocked gently on Lily's door. Lily, he asked softly. Silence. He sat down on the floor outside her room anyway. I'm not here to replace anyone, he said. And I'm not here to force you to love me. The door didn't open. Daniel continued, voice steady. But I am here, and I'm not leaving, even when you're angry. A minute passed. Then the door cracked open. Lily's eyes were red. Why? Daniel looked up at her. Because you deserve someone who stays. Lily stared at him like she didn't want to believe it. Then she whispered, people always leave. Daniel's heart clenched. He shook his head. Not everyone. And slowly, day by day, she started to test him less, and trust him more. Months later, the 4 kids, because yes, Daniel and Emma called them, the 4, even though it was 3 kids and 1 adult heart learning how to be whole, sat together on the living room floor building a puzzle. Emma watched from the kitchen, smiling quietly. Daniel walked up behind her. You okay? Emma nodded. I'm just thinking about that first date. Daniel chuckled. You mean when you threatened to scare me off? Emma elbowed him gently. I didn't threaten. I warned. Daniel leaned closer. I'm glad you did. Emma looked at him, eyes shining. You know what's funny? What? Emma whispered. I thought you'd leave. Daniel kissed her forehead softly. I thought I wasn't worthy of staying. Emma turned to face him fully. You are. Daniel swallowed. In that moment, he realized the most powerful truth of all. Love isn't found in perfect people. Love is built by imperfect people who choose not to run. Later that year, on a cold evening, Daniel stood in their living room holding a small box. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet. Emma looked at him suspiciously. Why are you shaking? Daniel laughed nervously. Because I'm still nervous around you. Emma's eyes softened. Daniel. He knelt down. I don't have a perfect past, he said. I don't have a perfect heart, but I have a loyal one. And I want to build a life with you, messy, loud, full of kids and homework and hospital scares and birthday cakes. Emma covered her mouth. Daniel opened the box. If you want to leave because I'm a single dad with a broken story, then. Emma burst into a laugh through tears. Daniel smiled. Then you can leave. Emma dropped to her knees and hugged him fiercely. I'm not leaving, she whispered. Daniel pulled back slightly. Is that a yes? Emma nodded hard. Yes. They didn't have a fancy wedding. They didn't need one. They had something more valuable. A home where children felt safe. A home where pain was acknowledged, not hidden. A home where love didn't come with conditions. And on the day they moved into a bigger place, Noah ran through the hallway shouting, "This is our house." Jacob laughed. Yeah, Lily smiled quietly and said something that made Daniel's eyes burn. Thanks for staying, she whispered. Daniel crouched beside her. Always. Because the truth is, real love doesn't start when everything is easy. It starts when someone looks at your life, your scars, your responsibilities, your children, your fear, and says, without hesitation, I'm not leaving. And that's how a nervous single dad learned the most important lesson of all. The right person won't ask you to choose between love and your kids. They'll choose you, with your whole life included.